Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming today. I'll be covering a very important and often overlooked topic, disability inclusion. So, not only is this an area that I deeply care about, but we are also in Disability Pride Month, and each colour used in our dedicated flag has meaning. Red for physical, yellow for neurodiversity, white for undiagnosed, blue for mental health, green for sensory, and black for loss. Oh, sorry. Right, so out of a global population of 8 billion, 1.3 billion of us are disabled, although this is likely higher with new diagnoses being made every day, and disability can impact you at any point in life. So, in the UK, how many people do you think are disabled? A show of hands for which answer you think is correct, or a react in the chat. Do you believe it could be 5.5 million? 6.8 million? 11 million? Or 13.6 million? Answer is 16 million, nearly a quarter of our population. These figures only include people who have been diagnosed with or declared a disability, so it's possible that the actual number of disabled people is even higher as new diagnoses are made every day, whether they be later in life or early in life. The World Health Organization has predicted that the number of people with disabilities will continue to grow over time, and this data supports that prediction. This is why disability inclusion is so important. We need to make sure that everyone, regardless of their disability, can participate fully in society and education. Disability can be understood in many ways, and these understandings have been formalized into models of disability. The oldest models are the medical and social models, and they have influenced the development of newer models. Both the medical and social models have their own strengths and weaknesses. The medical model can be helpful in understanding the causes of disability and in developing treatments for impairments. However, it can also lead to stereotypes and discrimination, such as disabled people being seen as sick or broken, and it can discourage people from challenging the social barriers present. The social model can be helpful in understanding the ways in which society can disable people, and it can provide a framework for advocating for change. However, it can also be seen as too simplistic, and it can ignore the individual experiences of people with disabilities, which is why it's important to bring equity as well as equality. Newer models of disability have attempted to combine the strengths of the medical and social models. For example, the minority model of disability sees people with disabilities as a minority group, and it argues that they should be entitled to the same rights and protections as other minority groups. The way we understand disability is constantly evolving, and there is no single correct model of disability. However, the medical and social models are two of the most influential models in today's society, and they continue to shape the way we think about disability today. So the medical model of disability is a view that focuses on the individual's physical or mental abnormalities and how these limitations impact their ability to function. This model has been integrated into many social constructs over time, leading to unconscious bias and misconceptions about the capabilities of disabled people. This can lead to exclusion, as disabled people are often seen as being unable to participate fully in society. For example, the survey results presented on this slide are from a report by the disability charity Scope, which found that there is a stigma around disability, especially from people with no pre-existing relationship with a disabled person. This stigma can be challenged by adopting a different perspective, such as the social model of disability. The social model of disability views disability as being caused by barriers in society, rather than by the individual's impairments, such as the actions and decisions of people or organizations that contribute to excluding disabled people. These barriers can be physical, such as inaccessible buildings, or they can be social, such as negative attitudes about disability, or even sensory, such as persistent sounds or smells in busy environments. The model provokes a way of thinking that encourages empathy in the needs of others and what adjustments or accommodations they may require for equitable participation, which helps us challenge internalized or unconscious bias about disability and change our approach. As educators and business leaders, we have the power and the responsibility to create a more inclusive and equitable society. Words are meaningless without action. We must all take steps to create a more inclusive society for disabled people. So, how do we achieve that balance? You may have noticed that I use the term equitable rather than equal. That's because they are often considered as one and the same, but they're actually very different, and understanding this difference is crucial for innovation. Equality means that everyone is treated the same and given the same resources and opportunities, regardless of their individual circumstances. This may seem like the fair approach, but it's actually a disadvantage for disabled people and other underrepresented communities who may require reasonable adjustments to achieve a fair outcome, like additional time to complete an exam or an assessment. Equity provides the same opportunity to succeed, even if they have different individual circumstances. This can be achieved by giving people different resources or opportunities based on their needs, such as that additional time or assessment materials provided in a different format. So, by adopting a social model of disability approach, we can create a more inclusive society for everyone. Education plays a huge part in the development of our society and the way we have develop our outlooks on life. Here are some examples of how the social model of disability can be applied to reduce exclusion. So we can create a welcoming and inclusive environment. This means making sure that the campus is physically accessible and that students feel comfortable being themselves. This includes providing accessible toilets, wheelchair access, quiet environments for studies or breaks, adjustable equipment, and signage in Braille. There we go. So another example can be offering flexible learning options. This could include allowing students to take classes online, in smaller groups, provide regular breaks, or learn at their own pace. Some students may need additional support at times, even with the use of AI to help with different tasks, such as a one-to-one meeting to go over assessment briefs and ensure the required steps are interpreted correctly. Microsoft Word is usually the best format for documents since they're more compatible with screen readers. PDFs require a lot of specific edits to be compatible with them. People with conditions such as dyslexia can struggle to read fonts that use tails or cursive writing. So please ensure that your assessment materials use a readable sans serif font like Arial, Open Sans, or Tahoma as this presentation is presented in. Also, ensure that the colors used are contrast friendly, such as black text on a pale background. Another important factor is to don't rely on color alone, such as if you're trying to differentiate different things on the screen. Because if you're relying on things like red, green, or blue, even though it's rare, there are conditions of color blindness where one of the three colors or all colors could be impacted. So it's important to also use patterns so it's easier to differentiate which is which if a student is colorblind. So another way that we can be inclusive is through collaboration. Be mindful of the words used to address disabled people. For example, wheelchair bound fuels the stereotype that all wheelchair users are paralysed. The individual could have limited mobility and be subjected to allegations of faking, which can cause distress and exclusion, even outside of our education walls. Above all, be supportive and approachable. Advocating disability inclusion is a learning curve for both parties. So encouraging your students to self-advocate their needs by contributing to actionable feedback and through in-class discussions, if they're comfortable doing so, can help you understand and support them. Everyone has different needs and barriers, so this will help you adapt your current teaching methods and empower them. Like any other service or product, you need to value and understand the needs of your stakeholders to be effective in your delivery. These conversations will also educate your peers and encourage changing of attitudes about disability. This can also be done through education and awareness campaigns. It's also important to have regular meetings with EDI and disability support staff at your institution. There's often a disconnect, and this is why it's important to keep in the loop of what resources and support are available, such as the services that they provide, the reasonable adjustments that you could provide, access to funding, assistive technology, or software that helps students with reading, writing, math, or communication. It's an ongoing partnership between teaching and support staff to ensure our knowledge of the available support remains up to date and that our students are getting the support they need to reach their true potential. I'm aware of time, so I provided a list of resources if you wish to learn more. You're welcome to either take a picture of the screen, or Anshul or Imran is welcome to distribute them to you later. These books were extremely helpful for research during my master's, and they will help you in becoming a strong disability advocate by broadening your perspective and outlook on life from different backgrounds. There are also free courses provided through Microsoft Learn and Open University that can also enhance your understanding of inclusive learning and neurodiversity. But remember, there is no one-size-fits-all approach to inclusive teaching, and disability traits vary from person to person. So empathy for understanding your students' individual needs is the key to providing an equitable teaching experience. Thank you.